So here's the thing about Season 5 of Bojack Horseman. Sorry for all the Bojack videos, but since I've realized that you guys actually like watching them too, I will do 1,000 of them. This is quite literally my favorite TV show, so... You know, all of our emotions were toyed with at the end of last season. They really had us thinking that things would improve and be more stable than the last few. But honestly, this is probably Bojack's worst season. Hard to argue, but I don't know. This shit lived with me for a while. First of all, the premiere is just great and sets up all of the plot lines in one fell swoop. Filbert comparing to Bojack and how dumb the show is, Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's divorce, Princess Carolyn and adoption, Todd's first relationship. It moves super quickly, like always, and has good first steps into everyone's development. Most importantly, Princess Carolyn gives Bojack some excellent advice. I honestly love the scenes between them, but it's also some terrible foreshadowing for what happens later.
No, not Flip. Filbert. He's a drunk. He's an asshole. I don't want to be him.
So maybe you don't be the drunk asshole. Maybe this time you have a good attitude and you don't drink so much and you show up for your call time and then you put on the Filbert costume and you pretend to be this other guy. And then when you're done shooting, you take off your costume and you're Bojack, the star of the show that everybody likes.
And it follows it up with an episode just about Diane. I've talked about her character so much, I'll limit myself here, but her monologue about losing someone who was close to you for so long is so beautiful. I love the message that she can find peace in being alone. Really touching episode. What I didn't talk about is what this episode is like for Bojack. It's interesting that he's kind of her crash buddy, but their relationship is always really tense, and it's clear that they're still not good for each other while they're figuring things out. It's an interesting preview for what happens to them later this season. The next couple episodes are a little silly, but still have amazing commentary, specifically Todd struggling and feeling like he rushed into a relationship just because they're both asexual, and Anna Spadakopita's return with feminism and Vance Waggoner. First of all, I love that the tape finally came back. Like lots of fans, I was waiting for that shoe to drop, and it finally did, ruining Bojack and Diane's relationship pretty much. But before that, let's break our viewers' hearts. The Amelia Earhart story is the best. Much needed backstory for Princess Carolyn that adds so many layers to her character. I'm obsessed with this episode, even though it really takes the story in a very sad direction. But it ends up paying off. Sadie is a really great character, and I like how she comes around to Princess Carolyn on her own terms later in the season. And honestly, when she was skeptical of PC because of how she bullshits everyone on the phone, I got it. But let's be real, everyone was being so annoying to PC this episode, they all deserved it. And then Free Churro. What can I say about Free Churro that hasn't already been said? It's a 25-minute long monologue, like holy fuck. The talent you need to have to write and perform that is insane. Plus they managed to nail the storytelling with very textured moments about his mother, despite Bojack's personal hatred seeping through the entire speech. I'd like to mention the bit about them all drowning together specifically. It gives them an image of a family that was never really there before. They were all just broken people being horrible because they hated themselves and they were in the room with others. Oof. And then right after it, they have int sub. This episode is so confusing emotionally because it's hilarious, but also everyone looks so dumb. I appreciate them even changing the intro for this joke. It works really well as a storytelling device. Like what they did for Stop the Presses in Season 3, it's always fun to change up the ways you tell a normal story. Plus, it has a really important central plot about Diane and Bojack working through their relationship, cutting through all of the humor anyway. Given that new information that Diane learned. I enjoyed watching his process of grieving. It was interesting with him wanting the people to pay attention to him, but not wanting to ask them for it. And the ending is so crazy. What a twist to see. I was legitimately scared for what would happen next, and I felt like this was basically the end of Bojack and Diane being actual friends. Mr. Peanut Butter's booze is a real standout episode. It's rare for them to dive into what Mr. Peanut Butter is doing, and I thought that this episode did a really great job of outlining his cycle. I also love the clarification that it isn't him who's ruining women, they just outgrow him, which should have been obvious to me, but was a really important and insightful thing for me to learn about that character. And then the last arc of the season is where the show really takes a fucking shit all over your hopes and dreams. Bojack sinks deeper and deeper into his pill addiction, which I don't think particularly surprised anyone, but is so hard to watch as it infects every good thing he has once again. First, Hollyhock. He ruins their entire time together just for some pills that he doesn't even end up getting. He crashes his car to get them. This episode is just such a downer with a looming cloud of darkness and terribleness over the entire thing. Head in the Clouds is amazing, and an episode that really defines what the season has been talking about. Diane's want for people not to justify what Filbert has done is obviously the showrunners talking about their own main character. Incredible commentary on their own show. Plus, things get really alarming for Bojack here. His argument with Diane sends him deeper and deeper into his escapes, and Gina is getting further entangled in them. Also, Margot Martindale. Really tense fights and just overall an insane tone going through, even with that popsicle storyline. The showstopper was, and remains to be, my favorite episode of this season and the entire show. The blending between real life and the show becomes indistinguishable. It's so amazing how they've been building this up all season, and it finally pays off in a really long sequence. All of the references to detective shows and TV tropes are also incredible, and the stakes get so insane. The musical number, in particular, is a highlight for me. Not only is it insanely creepy, but also Gina gets to sing, and is actually incredible. It's so uncanny, too, with the off-brand characters, popsicle dancers, flashing lights, and even blood at the end. It leaves you with a really awful feeling in the pit of your stomach. And Bojack does possibly the worst thing ever. Hard to say, he's done a lot, but he almost actually murders someone here. I really never thought the show would take it that far, and the moment is terrifying to sit through, especially with Flip's reaction. Thank God for Mr. Peanut Butter. The final punctuation is perfect, with Bojack staring right into his own face. It was him all along. This investigation wasn't necessary. The finale is of course less crazy, like always, but has really important developments forward for everyone. Seeing Gina again is so terrible. I agree and get why she doesn't want to publicize it, but watching Bojack get away with this scot-free is just wrong. And somehow, the Henry Fondle storyline ended touchingly. I enjoyed watching Todd pull a look at the rabbits moment with him, and even think it's important for his development going forward into season 6. Todd is much more mature after this situation, if you notice. And PC gets one happy ending, thank God, plus Ruthie is the cutest. I love that we got her, even though we don't get her name yet. Overall, just a really packed season, wall-to-wall development for every character. Really enjoyed the pacing of this one. While I think season 6 might have reached greater heights, I think this one was more consistently good. And that's why it's my favorite. If you enjoyed this essay, consider supporting us on Patreon. There you can get videos weeks before they arrive on YouTube, full-length reactions, and you get to request whatever you want to see on the channel. But if you enjoyed, tell me below what your favorite season of Bojack was, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.